Welcome back to another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today we're dipping our toes back into the wonderful world of free-to-play games with the First Descendants, Korean publisher Nexon taking a shot at Warframe's crown, and, well, they better not miss, because seriously, this is Warframe with a little Destiny thrown in. Swap the frames for Descendants, and you pretty much have the game. If you spent any time with Warframe, you probably have a pretty good idea what to expect. The First Descendant is not shy about its influences, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're new to these kinds of games. Going into Warframe or Destiny 2 now as a newbie is like jumping off the high dive on your first day swimming. These games have been around for a while and they're pretty complicated. The First Descendant is also extremely complicated as well, but more in that free-to-play game way where they throw tons of resources and currencies and upgrade tracks at the player as a smokescreen to drive players into spending money. Yeah, it's one of those. It's a new game, though, and compared to how Destiny 2 is now, the early game onboarding process, it's straightforward and relatively easy to grasp. And for someone looking for a new online-only third-person looter shooter with a lot of characters to unlock and loot to pick up, the First Descendant, it has potential. It feels good to play. Shooting is clicky. It's got some weight to it. Movement's fast. Missions don't drag on too long. The game also looks really good with all the settings cranked up to max. Honestly, it's a beautiful game. It's got some really impressive cutscenes, and at first blush, it seems like we've got a real winner here, but you knew there was a but coming, didn't you? You had to sense it in the tone. But the grim specter of Nexon hangs over the whole thing. If you're unaware, Nexon's a company that has a history of some extremely shady behavior with their games, loading them with overpriced DLCs, employing every manipulative tactic in the book to encourage players to spend lots of money. At their worst, they give false information about microtransactions in their games. And I'm not like talking about rumors, like just this year they got fined $9 million for misleading informations about microtransactions in MapleStory. Long story short, Nexon loves DLC and microtransactions more than they love the law. And on day one, the First Descendant really has it all, and it really drags the rest of the game down. So what's it actually like to play? Well, first, you pick one of 3 starter Descendants. There's playable characters that have their own special abilities, passive strengths, and weaknesses. So yeah, they're Warframes with more of an intentionally mainstream appeal. The story's nonsense right from the start, throwing words like Vulgus and Ironheart out there. How long before we get to Chiblib and Debendu? I don't know. Those are words I just made up off the top of my head, and they sound similar to Vulgus in terms of seriousness. Thankfully, none of this stuff really matters, and it's fairly easy to ignore outside the lavish cutscenes I mentioned, which do look good, but it is impossible to care about this plot or any of these characters. The voice acting ranges from serviceable to straight up goofy. The dialogue is fairly stilted and awkward, and the characters are, well, they look nice. Whenever somebody's talking, it's better to just ignore it. Yeah, apply that here. None of it matters anyway. Well, most of the time, at least. Because when the terrifying alien warlord Greg starts talking, you better sit up and listen. Seriously, the first boss is named Greg. I don't know if it is a joke. I don't know if it's supposed to be taken seriously. If they're reclaiming Greg, I don't know. For too long, the name Greg has been a joke. No longer. Who knows, man? All that really matters is the big quest markers. You follow those and you're good to go. The game is split between instance linear missions and more open patrol zones that are less like the gigantic open areas of Warframe and more like the smaller open areas in something like Destiny. Whether you're in a mission or a zone, you're basically doing the same thing, chasing after quest markers and mowing down brainless swarms of enemies. Sometimes you need to defend a point or pick up a thing and take it to another thing, but it's all basic variations on the same sort of team-based objectives we're all used to seeing in free-to-play games. One thing that the First Descendant has going for it is that all this stuff is fast, especially in a group. You're free to run missions or enter a zone privately with your friends or by yourself. You're not forced to enter the public lobby if you don't want to, but in this game's case, I've found that playing with others is where I had the most fun. The basic gameplay is satisfying, but at least from everything I've played, it's also incredibly easy too. There's not really any danger of dying at any point. And while there is a hard option, you only unlock it after finishing the base campaign, and it's less of a hard mode and more of a way for higher level players to continue grinding. Everything's just level 100 instead of 10. There's a decent variety of guns to choose from. And like with Destiny, you got 2 normal guns, 1 power weapon that has more limited ammo. Between all the shootings, you're popping off powers like shooting ice shards or creating localized blizzard. Depending on your Descendant, your powers are completely different. There's more defense-oriented ones that can summon shields, more support-oriented characters that can bring in ammo boxes. If you played enough hero shooters or Warframe, you've seen all this before, but there is a clever ability every once in a while. Like the Ice Girl has the power to leave ice slicks wherever she moves, so you can draw circles around certain areas to slow attackers up, which is kind of unique and cool. It's fun in a brainless sort of way, at least until you run into a total bullet sponge of a boss and your entire team runs out of ammo, so they're forced to slowly plink away at the boss with a tiny amount of ammo they can scrounge off random ads. There's no chance anyone's gonna die, even in this situation, so it's kind of more annoying than anything else, and that's the game more or less. You run missions, you go into a zone. I don't know if you find Kanye West there or not. I don't know if they let him get in his zone anymore. But once you're there, you talk to a quest giver who will tell you to do 3 or 4 patrol-style objectives in each zone. You do those, you go back, you either unlock a new mission, or you do some more patrols in a different area from the zone. You rinse and repeat for a total of 8 zones. While you're doing this, the game is showering you with loot. As usual for these types of online games, there's a lot of little modifiers and upgrades for this stuff, and it starts to all run together a bit. But with the First Descendant, all that really matters is that you can switch to the stuff with the highest DPS, because you're easily going to steamroll everything with anything less than a level 100. It's all a little more difficult if you choose to play by yourself, but there's little reason to do the game solo because you're not missing a lot. There's no side paths or secrets in the missions or in the open world, just a backdrop to shoot up enemies and nothing more. Overall, there's not a lot of variation in mission design. The only things that add variety are a decent amount of enemies and the Colossus bosses. Probably the most fun I had in the game was fighting the Colossi, these really big machine enemies, and when I say big, I mean gigantic. You fight them in missions called Void Intercepts. They have their own weak points. You grapple onto them. Oh yeah, there is a grappling hook, mostly for getting around. It's useful enough, but this game doesn't have the speed or movement text of a game like Warframe, so there's not a lot other than for getting quickly around the environment. Anyway, the Colossi, with a full team, these are fun fights. And they give the game a sort of sci-fi Monster Hunter kind of energy. Honestly, I'd be happy if fighting these things was the main focus. Just make a sci-fi Monster Hunter. Cool. I'd be good. The first time you throw down with one of these big beasts, it's really exciting. I don't know why you're always fighting them in these weird cyberspace arenas, but the fights are fun. They're an important part of the game, too, because killing these things is mainly how you get blueprints to unlock new Descendants. If you played Warframe, they pretty much copy that system whole cloth. You have to get a ton of in-game resources from different missions or Colossi. You spend a bunch of in-game money to unlock them, and then you wait a while for the research to complete. The tutorial Descendant you unlock only takes a minute to research, but most of them take 16 hours or more, which I guess is better than the 3 days in Warframe, but it's still a long time. Getting these characters in-game is pretty tedious. You need a ton of resources for each one. They spread all over the place. Certain key items require you to randomly get them from Colossi, which would be more of a problem, but bizarrely the game doesn't really scale these bosses. So you can get a party of level 30 fighters fighting a level 10 boss and you just annihilate it. Kind of makes these guys feel like chumps to fight, and it takes a lot of the fun out of killing them, but it also cuts down the grinding, I guess, which if you're playing this kind of game, I don't know if is a priority for you to not grind. Like, it seems like a lot of this genre is about grinding, but nevertheless, if you don't want to grind at all for the other playable characters, you can just buy them in the store. In fact, you can pretty much buy everything, and it should not come as any kind of surprise that it's all universally overpriced. Descendants sell for between 300 and 900 caliber in real money currency in the game. It's $5 for 250 caliber or 520 for 10. So unlocking these guys always just costs a little bit more. There's only one way to earn caliber in the game, through the battle pass. Most games are generous enough to at least make it so you earn real money currency in the past to unlock the next one, but this is Nexon, so the battle pass costs 500 caliber, but you only get 300 caliber in total by completing it. Real F you to the players. I love it when a game, doesn't care about my time. Some of the store prices are straight up highway robbery. 5,000 caliber for an ultimate Descendant. That's $100. Do not get me started on the paint. You have to buy each color for 25, and they're consumable. So you apply that color once and it's gone for good. Doesn't come back, doesn't recharge, doesn't do anything like that. You buy it, you use it, it's done. And it only works with the specific costume part. There's no way to earn it in the game other than the battle pass, which you have to pay for. So, real cool nickel and diming stuff in this one. At least you can play through the entire game without having to engage any of this. Just use the few descendants you get naturally through playing the game. Don't bother with skins or accessories. Use the base colors. And never cosmetically modify your character at all. It's perfectly possible, but it does feel like you're getting bombarded with things the game wants you to buy at pretty much every turn. So, I mean, you have to go out of your way to ignore all that stuff. But if you do, the First Descendant is actually pretty fun. It's not a particularly taxing experience. It's very easy for most of the game. But if you want to chill out game to mow down monsters and hoover up loot, there's worse games to play. The First Descendant looks great a lot of the time. It runs pretty well too. As long as you remember to leave frame generation off. That'll cause the game to stutter like mad, at least when I played it, which is insane because that's the literal opposite of what that's designed to do. The Descendants themselves feel unique enough. They're fun to control, and that goes a long way to make up for how a lot of the mission design is pretty standard and forgettable. I will say at least it's not tedious, and that's kind of like shocking because a lot of games in this genre are very, very tedious. But everything goes by so fast that by the time one activity starts to drag, you're running off to do something else, and that makes a really big difference, in my opinion. Some small quality of life improvements are welcome too, like how you can choose to view mission results on a screen. It's entertaining enough background gaming, just don't spend any money. Do not. You will feel ripped off because they're ripping you off. Knowing Nexon though, it's hard to know how long the game is going to last. Hopefully it has some legs because I do think there's a lot of potential here, but it is currently too easy. The microtransactions are too much, and the game isn't fun enough to breathlessly recommend. However, with those provisos, it's not the worst thing you're going to play. In fact, it's actually good. Just don't expect it to be something it's not, because it is not. Anyway, that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.